Hello, and welcome back to Sim Airport. Do like and subscribe if you like these videos, and if you want to subscribe to them. I am not going to ask you to press the bell notification so you get a notification every time a video is released because, come on. These are not news clippings that you need to keep up with. These are videos where you just watch them for the heck of it. So you don't need a bell notification to tell you that, oh, Kalir has dropped a video, let's go and watch it immediately, because 5 minutes from now the video will not make any sense for us. No, that's not the case. So if you want to have the notification, that's completely up to you. But I'm not focusing on views. uh, I'd like more subscribers though, because I feel people giving me more inputs would make me better as a talker, and could also help me understand how I can make these videos better. Right, now jumping in real quick. Last time when we were talking about how this went into the negative, and that was overdraft. So I said that I would go a little bit into how financial systems in companies basically work. So for each industry, there are different types of financial systems. There are different types of things which happen. But essentially, when you let's look at an airport, it's obviously going to work differently than a manufacturing setup or a service oriented company. But essentially, some things are the same. Now, what things are the same? When you talk about expenses, you have two main types of expenses. You have expenses for your operations, and you have expenses for a fixed term, like long term expenses. So if we quickly jump in here, so let's assume that this arcade is a perfect example. Let's assume this arcade, right? So this arcade has arcade machines. It needs the arcade machines to function. When you buy the arcade machine, you have to pay the supplier on the very first day. So that's a fixed cost for you, right? Like that's um, it's not a fixed cost, it's like a long term cost for you. You also have short term costs. These short term costs are separated into fixed and variable. Fixed is if you pay a certain amount of money every month, irrespective of how much business you do, that's fixed cost. So for renting out this space, this arcade owner will pay to the airport, right? In this case, the arcade belongs to the airport. So come to the store, for example. The store also belongs to the airport, but then the electricity that they use, and such and such, or assume this store is not part of the airport, it's a private person who's holding it, he needs to pay rent, right? So rent and the electricity you use for the app for this particular store, all of those are fixed costs. If your employee is working here on a monthly contract, that's a fixed cost. It's staff cost for the employee, because whether you sell one shoe, do these people sell shoes? No, they sell books. Whether you sell one book or you sell 10 books, you still have that one employee. Now what happens with fixed costs is fixed costs increases in steps. So every time you expand your business, your fixed cost increases, but it jumps up by a step. It doesn't jump up gradually. So if you want to buy another, so much of space more, you want to double your space, you want to have this store and this store, your cost for rent is going to jump up from one time to two times. If you want to hire another person, your cost for salary is going to jump up by that much. And then you have variable cost. Variable cost is basically the cost of, let's say, the books that you have here. So if you have one book that you sell, then your variable cost is low. You just have to replace that one book. But you have 10 books that you sell, then your variable cost increases to 10 times. So that is pretty much what fixed cost and variable cost is. Now, apart from this, you have cost of assets. So basically money you spend on some of your equipment, for example. So those are long-term assets. So let's say you have a plane, or in this case, let's say we have the baggage car. I buy a baggage car I am going to spend that money and then use that baggage car for another 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever it is. Over the course of the 5 years, that cost of the baggage car will be reduced, because I am using that baggage car from day one till day, I don't know, 300, not 300 day. So if it's 5 years, it's going to be day 1500 something. So until that day, I'm going to use the baggage car every single day, right? But then when I pay for it, I pay for it on the first day. So those are long term. And then you have short term. Short term is where the fuel for the baggage car, the maintenance that I have to pay for the baggage car, all of those are short term expenses, short term liabilities. So when you come here to our loans, this replicates only a long term loan. So when I take this loan out, it's a long term loan that I'm taking, which I need to repay. In this case, it's whenever I want to. The principal is not due every month, but the interest I need to keep paying every month. There is another type of loan, which is a short term loan, which is only to accommodate your business. So in our case, a perfect example for that would be the fuel that we buy. So when we buy the fuel inside, the fuel comes into our system and we need to pay them the money for the fuel as soon as we get the fuel. But we get the money out of this only when we sell it to the airline. So I could buy 100% of this fuel, and it could take me 1 week to sell this whole 100% of the fuel back to the airlines. So when that happens, I will get my money into the system only 1 week later. So on day one, when the fuel truck comes here, I have no money to pay him. So how am I going to pay him? So that's where an accommodation instrument or an accommodation line will be given by the bank. So the bank will basically say, here, bro, I know you have an airport, you have 4 gates, you have it very well planned, you're running really smooth operations, I understand all of this. So let me do one thing. For you to fill up 2 of these tanks, it's going to cost you, let's say, $250,000. I will front you that cash today. You have to pay me interest for it, obviously. But at the end of 5 days, I expect that you will pay this cash back to me. So the overdraft, or where it says you have 47 hours to pay back the money, is something like that. It is a situation where you can withdraw money from your bank after your balance reaches zero. But the point of that is to accommodate some transaction for you. So you are borrowing that money so that you can buy something and sell it off so that you get money later on. That money is not for you to pay your rent, because your rent is a fixed cost. It is not for you to buy yourself a car, because a car for you is a long term liability. That is only for you to put fuel in your car so you can complete the trip, get the money for the trip, and then pay back the bank. So these are short term. So the cardinal rule in borrowing is you should never borrow short term to finance long term, and you would be really stupid to borrow long term to finance short term. So yeah, a lot of people don't, like, they make mistakes in that. It's not, I'm not blaming them. It's just that if you are not used to it, and if you are extremely optimistic, and if you are somebody who's a risk taker, these are the places where you'll get caught, where you'll get stuck, not get caught, you'll get stuck. And normally, it escalates really fast. So you will not know how bad things can get until it's too late. And at that point, you have to take drastic measures, and you do things which you regret later on. And that's essentially how all of these huge businessmen get into trouble. Every single huge businessman, every single huge scandal that you've seen is because of that, because they don't understand it, or they understand it so well that they think they can play the game, that they can game the system. Enron is a perfect example of how people thought they could game the damn system, and then it came crashing down. It's not just Enron. Lehman Brothers were the same thing. And some of the existing people as well, some of the existing banks and banking institutions, which are really healthy and which give you this this facade of success. Let's pay back another 100,000. So a lot of these banks which currently give you a facade of success, they're like, oh yeah, we've never had a bad debt, or we've never done anything wrong, or we've always made money, we're very successful. They have this going on as well. My favorite line that everybody uses is, oh, it's a rogue player, it's a one-off incident, it's somebody that he wasn't supposed to do it and then he did it. That's not always the case. Most often it is an institutional problem. Most often the higher management actually gets benefited because of these small little mistakes, as they would later call it, or oversights. So in the short term, you're going to get, like, let's say you get a bonus of 5 million for even like a small bank. The highest management would get something like 5 million of bonus in a bad year. So why would they do that? I mean, at any point of time they would be like, doesn't matter to me, let me just get my money first, and then after that we can talk about ethics. So ethics becomes highly negotiable. So that's our baggage system working really beautifully. That could have been a little boring what I just said, but I think it's very, very essential that we talk about these things. So I mean, if any of you are willing to comment on it, I'm glad to hear it, because some of these things are very, very important, and we just don't learn it, we just don't know it, we just don't discuss it. Even if we learn it and we know it, we don't discuss it, because we're like, oh, that's so mundane, he's playing a game, he's playing Sim Airport, so why should we talk about such heavy subjects? No, because all of this is related. It's business. This is how you do business. You make decisions here. I can just say, oh, fail to reserve runway. Oh. I can just say, hey, it's just a game, so I'm not going to take care of all that. I'm going to borrow as much money as I can. And then what happens? I'll have to pay so much interest that I can't construct anything that I want. I'd just be hoping that I'll win. And I'm glad that the makers of this game have actually taken it seriously. As the game progresses, it does become easy for you to make money. But then, the kind of projects you need to undertake to keep expanding your airport keeps increasing. So if I were, if I play this game long enough, I'll max out this entire space, which means I'll have to buy more space around. Which reminds me, I have to do some research. But anyway, let me finish this tirade first. So I have to buy more space around. So I have to spend more money. And let's say I expand over here and I decide to have a runway here. Now I have to expand my foundation to reach the runway, or I have to expand my taxiway so it's very relevant to our context right now. There are people who do that. They borrow as much money as they can. They max it out, because during the initial stages you get really cheap loans, and then they build a huge airport. And the fluctuation of demand here is not as much as in the real world. So you could go in with all of that, but then it wouldn't actually work in the real world. So it's kind of like you're playing GTA with a cheat code. You press a couple of buttons and then bam, you have like a machine gun or a rail gun or a fighter plane right next to you, which you can use to then clear everything. Most of us don't do that, right? Why do we not do it? Because we like immersing ourselves in that world, assuming that it is the real world. So that is essentially why we need to talk about all this. Let's get operations. So I am very interested in opening up as many of these as possible, because we are pretty healthy. We finished all of the things which we wanted to do, and now it's just about how to expand a little bit further on. So for expansion, we need to get ourselves a longer runway. this runway length is not going to be enough. So even if I expand this, I can't get the large planes if I'm not mistaken, because I need 150, and this is 90 tiles, and I don't reckon I can get 150 if I extend this. Besides, these has lights already, so I need to like dismantle this and then upgrade this again. So I think it might be better for us to get another smaller runway here before we think about upgrading this, and also unlock one plot of land here. That said, if we are going to upgrade our airport to accommodate the larger flights, we will need to have the second floor filled out as well. Because the gates reach from the second floor, they don't go from the first floor. Last time I did this, I didn't do the runway situation properly, because of which I had big gates, but then I just had like smaller planes coming in. Right, so we were paying around 20,000 for tax, weren't we? How much were we paying on tax? I can't see it here, can I? No, I can't. Right, I think we were paying around 20,000 for tax. So if we get the VP of Finance, which we will get in a few seconds now, yes. So once we get this guy, we can unlock lower tax income 1 and 2, and that is amazing. The lower our tax is, the better it is. For business, that is, not for society as a whole. Society suffers for sure, but for business, it's very, very, very good. So let's get some walls. Oh, actually, I need foundation, don't I? Let's get some foundation. Maybe an office here. This is 2 by 3, so I can get a 2 by 3 here. As 2 by 3, so that can be our VP of Finance, who will need a door to his office. I gotta put it here, but I want to have like a proper reception area going here. So let's get a door and some windows. And windows. Let me give this guy a couple of more windows. He's the CFO after all. He should have more windows. Let's get the flooring done. And let's dismantle this wall. Tear down the wall. Tear down the wall. So we need more flooring there. Right. Office. There it is. And an office desk. Watching out. This would give him so much of a glare. Okay, that's the keyboard up front, so this is good. And then a chair over here. This would be a nice office. I would like to be in this office. COO is okay. I can hire a COO as well. Finance VP is the one we are looking for. So we can lower tax income 1. COO gives us great gate control, land expansion. Yes, please. Light rail transit. That is beautiful. That is amazing. Like, I want to get that, but before I get that, I want to be able to upgrade I want to get the multi-lane access, because I think you can't get both of them together. I'm not sure though, because the tracks are already here, aren't they? So you should be able to get them independent of each other. I see. So this will give me 1, 2, 3 and 2. Yeah, so I can get another office here for the COO, make this a corridor of sorts. So that's a chunk of cash which goes off for both of these people. Did I pay something back? I don't remember. So let's wait. Actually, we can pay off 50k and then wait on the rest. Let's dismantle this and let's get ourselves a door and a couple of windows. Actually, we can get more than a couple of windows. He's the chief operating officer after all. Let him have as many windows as he wants. Let's get him an office table and a chair. It's gonna have a glare for sure, a pretty bad glare, but it's fine. He's the chief operating officer. He doesn't need to be in the office. And okay, he's the COO, so he doesn't need to be in the office, I guess. But we are going to give him work from home as much as he wants it. So he doesn't need to be here, but he can be here. Okay, lower tax income 1 is completed. Let's go ahead and do lower tax income 2. And let's quickly jump into here and hire ourselves a COO. Wow, this guy is expensive. $450 an hour is insanely expensive. That's going to drop our total for sure. We were doing upwards of 50 and now it says we will do only 49. We're getting 100,000 for terminal. It's a lot. So income tax is 19,700. I think once we get income tax 2, that will go down further, which is good. Property tax is 6,700, so it's pretty small. But then as we expand more, we will need to have we will need to pay more property tax. So yeah, the CEO is here. He is a brown man with blonde hair. Strange. Wow, she is really pale. Right, so we've got just 25,000. We don't have a lot of money to pay back, but that's because we paid back 50k, didn't we? Okay, so let's wait on this. And in the meantime, let me put a quick cut in this video and we will be back again with another part for this. Until then, do like and subscribe and take care now. Bye bye then.